Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so what I'm about to say today will blow your mind. It will blow your mind. I don't know how it's gonna leave you emotionally, but definitely I know that it's gonna touch you in some way. And yeah, just feel free to contact me via email, WhatsApp, or whatever if you want to contact the people that shared this thing that I'm about to share with you right now. If you want to get in contact with them, if you want to talk to them, I don't know, whatever you'd like to do, just feel free even to comment or just reach me via any media you feel comfortable with. All right, so this is not educational, this is not like school related stuff or maybe business or any other thing. This is just purely life, and I'm going to share with you what they shared to us. Okay, so this previous Sunday, that was on the, let me just check my phone, that was on the 7th of April, on Sunday, last Sunday, 2024. I attended church at Champions Church. It's called Champions Church, and it's right here in Florida, Lake Alfred, where I live, just near my neighborhood here. So that was my second time attending this church. And on that day, on Sunday, the previous Sunday, there came someone who was actually invited by the church to come and share or to preach or to teach, whatever you might call it. And so this woman, her name is called Linda. So Linda began her story. So this is what she said. So I'm gonna narrate to you exactly how she said it. So please just stick around and follow me. All right, so she said back in 1995. So Linda has got two daughters. One is called Mercy and another one is called Michelle. Mercy lives in Indianapolis and Michelle lives in heaven. And so Linda was married. Her first marriage, she divorced. That was where she got her two daughters from, her first marriage. And now she got into a second marriage. And so with Lee, a person called Lee. And so, yeah, Linda now is in her second marriage. She's a woman in her late, I think maybe 60 or 70, somewhere there. And so, back in 1995, she narrated to us, her daughter, it was on a Mother's Day. She described it as a Mother's Day she'll never forget. So, during Mother's Day, they came together with Michelle and also her husband. They came together for lunch. You know, it's common here in the US on such days or holidays, or people come together, like families come together, and then they come like maybe for lunch or dinner, and yeah, that's it. And so they came, and then Michelle came with her new boyfriend. Okay, and by the way, Linda was a minister of the gospel. She still is. You know, she's a prayerful woman. She's into church and everything. And so Michelle came with her boyfriend that day on Mother's Day, and then she introduced him, Ryan. So Linda, the mother to Michelle, did not feel comfortable with him. I think maybe it was because of how he looked. And so she had something in her heart, you know, that thing where as a mother, something tells you, no, I just don't like this person. Okay? Anyway, she decided to not even talk to Michelle about it. So, you know, and even if she did, you know, sometimes children will always follow what their heart's desires. And so anyway, another time, that the same year, 1995, another time she met with Ryan. Like they came together again, and this time Ryan acted, you know, kind, respectful, and so she was like, anyway, I'll give it a choice, because they also seemed happy together, you know. So as Linda was just like, okay, it's fine as long as they're happy together. So one day, same year, so just it was the same year, okay, 1985. So one day Linda had a dream, okay, and this dream, in a dream, she dreamt that she was like sending 2 plane tickets to her daughters. They are different states, but she was sending them, and then from nowhere she could see her daughters, like both of them, even though in different states, but she could see them like at once, and they were all like packing their clothes to come and see them, to fly over and come and see their mother. And so, you know, as they were packing, she observed something like, as they were packing, their clothes and their stuffs were like jumping out of the suitcase. But Michelle was a little bit smarter, so when she put her things, she could like hold the suitcase, she shoves in the stuff and then just closes. Anyway, the dream cut, and then she was like taken to like a runway in the same dream. She was like on the runway, she saw herself on the runway, And then planes were coming in, going, coming in, going, coming in. And so there's this big plane that came and landed, and then it dropped down the staircase, and people started coming down. They were coming down, and she was waiting to see her daughters like coming through. And the strange thing that she saw in the dream was that each person that was coming out of the plane had their suitcase and their air ticket like with them. And so finally she saw Michelle coming down of the plane, and Michelle had her air ticket also with her suitcase, going towards like her mom Linda. And so she came close, and as she was about to hand over her ticket to the mother Linda, suddenly a strange hand, like a huge hand, came over and grabbed the air ticket from Michelle. And so Linda, the mother, was like, what hand is this? It was a powerful hand that just grabbed the ticket. And so she turned around to see whose hand it was. And suddenly she saw this bright, blinding light. And then the dream just ended. And so she went to one of her friends, two friends of hers. It was a couple. So she explained the dream. Both of them were prayer people, they're people of the church, so they're prayer people. And so they prayed about it, and no one had a specific interpretation, but they came to a conclusion that God was trying to talk to her about her daughters. But anyway, no one had a specific thing. But anyway, she just prayed about it, and just like that, let it go. She called also her daughters to find out how they were doing. They said they're okay. And so days went on by. And then Linda was in a cassette shop. I don't know if you know cassettes. In Zambia, we call them matape. Anyway, they're also called tapes. Okay, those long time ago tapes for music or whatever. And so she was buying one cassette in this cassette shop. And she bought, it's a gospel, for gospel music. It was like recorded live. And so she bought it. And then they were in the house for the friends. Linda was at friends' house, the same ones whom she told the dream. And so she decided to take a nap that afternoon, even though it was rare for her like to take afternoon naps. And so she took an afternoon nap, and suddenly she dreamt the exact same dream she had like 2 weeks ago. That was like 2 weeks ago when she dreamed about the whole airport thing and seeing her daughters coming down. And then it was detail, like the same dream. And so she woke up and told her friends again, guys, I had this exact same dream. What do you think? So as usual, they prayed about it, and then they said, okay, I think God is trying to tell you something about your daughter. And so, okay, it's all right. Then some weeks went by, and then she was at her friend's house again, at the same friend's house, that same couple. And she was there, also like talking to the kid. The kid was only like 10 years old. And as she was talking, the couple came in. Actually, the husband from the friend came in, and he was like, Linda, can I talk to you for a moment? And so that man chased away. He was like, hey, can you excuse us? And so he said, you have a phone call from Lee, the husband to Linda. You have a phone call from Lee. And so she took the phone to one side. And Lee went on to say, Linda, I think this is the hardest thing that I'm ever going to tell you, but yes, Michelle is dead. Oh, and as a mother, I can only imagine, as a mother, hearing your child is dead. Michelle is dead, and he was shot dead by Ryan 3 times. And she was shocked, And by that time, as she was narrating her story in church, everyone went, everyone was quiet. There was deep silence, everyone trying to swallow what she just said. And you could see, even as she narrated the story, there was, that emotional, emotional face came over her like this. You could see it from her, like trying to hold back her tears, even though that was 1995. And so she got confused. Anyway, fast forward, she went home like to go and see her husband who had told her the news. They cried. They couldn't even sleep that day. They cried, and they couldn't even let them go and see the body for Linda. And at one time, Lee thought maybe it was maybe a joke. So he went to the police officers there at the same house where the body was still laying there, and they were doing investigation. So he tried, was like, please, are you sure this is Michelle? Okay, let me describe Michelle. So, because they couldn't allow him to go and see and like identify the body. So he told one of the officers, like, please, Michelle has got a tattoo on her thigh, this and that, it's a dolphin, this and that. And so the police went in, and the police went in, one of the officers went in, and then, found the tattoo and came back and like, it's Michelle, the tattoo is like this and this and this. They couldn't believe it. They were so angry, they were so, there was rage in them, they could cry, they couldn't sleep. And Ryan, by that time, her boyfriend, ran away. And if you are familiar with Florida here, there's a lot of citrus. So it happened here in Florida. So he ran away, and he was actually in one of the groves. He found himself in one of the groves. And so they were angry, investigation went on. They couldn't even allow them to see the body, and also because they needed to do a post-mortem. And funeral arrangements were a little bit delayed because they needed to do everything. The state needed to do everything. And one day, like after some days, Linda was awake, like around 5 a.m. So she decided like to wake up and to start praying. And so she didn't switch on the light because she was afraid that if she switches on the light, she could like disturb everyone who was there. So she was just in the dark like that, thinking and crying. And suddenly, that same light she saw in the dream appeared to her this time, but in front, not behind. It appeared to her like in front. And then from nowhere, she was like gripped with fear and also like peace at the same time, And then she knew that this was the presence of God. And so she just fell down. And then from there, she felt like peace coming upon her. And then she heard a voice coming out from the light. But it wasn't like vocal, whereby she could hear like as if someone is talking to you like this, like physically. But she heard it within her soul. Like she heard it like someone is talking to her, and she knew that was the presence of God in there talking to her. And the words were, Linda, I want you to forgive Ryan. Secondly, I want you to embrace him as a son. She couldn't imagine hearing those words. It was like a joke, But she had made a promise way back to always obey God. And also, Ryan had handed himself to the police after some days. He handed himself to the police and also helped with like investigations and also like, giving up everything what happened and telling everything that happened. So, news came to Linda that Ryan had, handed himself over. And do you know where Ryan handed himself over? In the same shop that Linda bought the gospel cassette. And just like that, Linda went ahead and wrote a letter to Ryan, to the prison. So she gave to one of her attorneys. She was assigned an attorney, counselors, by the state. And so she sent that letter through the attorney. And in that letter, she wrote, Ryan, I've forgiven you for everything that you've done. But she did not mention in her letter that all that, the forgiveness, it was because God spoke to her, Even though it wasn't like she narrated it wasn't like an instant forgiveness, like she forgave the person. No, it took time, and she said that it was just by grace, because as soon as she had that experience with the light in her and telling her all that with a voice, she said she had peace in her, like all the grief left her. But the people around her, including her attorney, her counselors, they thought she was crazy or she was in denial. Like, this woman, why is she acting like this? She's acting so peaceful. Some people will be outrageous, very angry and in deep sorrow, all that. But for her, it was different. So investigation went on, and then now the time came for they charged Ryan with a first-degree murder. So they came to present the case to Linda, because they always come to you first before trial even begins. So they said, you know what, before we go to trial, we don't want to impose the trial on you, because there's a lot of financial burden with trials, And so they gave Linda two options, which are there in Florida. They'll tell them, it's either a death penalty or life imprisonment without parole. So Linda, they explained everything, and they told her these are the only two options. And they asked her, which option do you want? And she said, none of the above. None of the two. They're like, madam, I think you don't understand. They explained again this time a little bit even slower so that maybe she could digest and understand clearly. And she said, I do understand, and I chose none of them. And she was like, I want a sentence for Ryan that will allow him at least to leave prison one day. They said, Madam, that is not possible. And that's how they left. And after some time, they came back this time and they said, okay, we finalized. We'll give Ryan a sentence of 37 years in prison, but with the possibility of parole, meaning if he behaves well, he could come out. And actually, Ryan was ready, like, you know, he responded even because they could go there. His attorneys also would go there, and he would also ask, what has mom said? And remember, Linda did not mention anything to Ryan to say, the Lord told me to embrace you as my son, you know. But he instantly started telling her that, what has mom said? Whatever mom says, it's okay with me. And so one day, Linda also, while the whole thing was going on, the trials and everything, Linda asked to go and see Ryan. So they granted her request, and so she went to prison. And you know, at the prison, they brought in Ryan, and there was like, you know, a glass before them like this, and they brought him, and he was bundled up, you know, tied up everything with handcuffs and also chains around him, and he looked like a wild animal, she described. And when he just saw him, she started crying, and also he started crying also. He started apologizing. She said she couldn't even remember what she asked him, but they were just crying. But anyway, she repeated the same words from the letter saying, I have forgiven you, this and that. And she also encouraged him to, like, you know, find Christ, you know, make sure, read about God, you know, pray. That was it. And so that's how, as time went on, they gave Ryan 37 years, and he was in prison. And after that, Ryan began to send Linda, like, you know, cards. Mother's Day, you know, Linda also could send some letters to Ryan, greeting him, going to prison frequently to go and visit him like that. You know, slowly but surely, she started, like, you know, trying to forgive him and let him go. And by the grace, she said, by the grace of God, she was able to, like, have peace and be able to, like, let go and embracing him as a son, slowly but surely. And finally, you know, Ryan each and every year would send mother's gift cards, you know, like those cards with a letter, you know, everything. And it was, oh my God. Time went on, and now Ryan died. After 23 something years, Ryan died. Now, the old Ryan died, and there was a new Ryan. After 24 years, she said, Ryan was released from prison, and it was a new Ryan there. And so everyone in church was quiet, and everyone wanted to know where Ryan is now and what he's doing. And that same day in church, on Sunday, they came together. And that's how she called Ryan also. She was like, Ryan, my son, come here. And Ryan came. I was shocked, guys. I was shocked, and I saw Ryan, and the whole entire church, you could feel it was tense in the church, you know, it was tense, filled with emotions. And Ryan walked up to the pulpit there, and they hugged each other. I took a picture of them. I'll be able to show you the pictures afterwards. I took a picture of them, so I'll be able to show you a picture of Ryan and and also Michelle. If I'll be able to get some pictures there, I'll be able to show you the pictures of both of them. Actually, Ryan is like, I don't know how old he is, but he was born in 1963. And so when he was called up on the pulpit, he started explaining his side of his story. So, you know, Ryan was into drugs and everything, and that night he didn't even know what happened. They had an argument with Michelle, and that's how he shot Michelle. And when he shot Michelle, he didn't like care, you know, but inside him, he knew that he had done something wrong, and that's how he ran away. And he wanted to commit suicide. He was like, I've done something wrong. I know I've done something wrong, you know. You can feel it inside you that what I've done, I think, is wrong. And so he wanted to commit suicide. Now remember I told you that he had ran away and then he went to like one of the orange groves there, the citrus groves. And so he was inside in there. He had the same gun, loaded it with bullets, and then pointed at in his mouth, and boom, the trigger. But the gun didn't fire. He tried that 3 times. He removed it from his mouth and pointed it down and shot, and the gun fired. But in his mouth, it couldn't. That's how he explained it. And so his plan was, okay, let me go to town. He was like, I'll go to town, and then when I reach in town there, I'm going to call the cops. And when the cops come, I'm going to point a gun at them. And automatically, if you do that here, they are going to shoot at you. If you just point at the officer's gun, they'll automatically shoot at you. So that was his plan, so that he could die. And so now he went, he did that. And then now when he called the police and when they came, his thought of trying to kill himself was gone. And then that's how they arrested him. And then, you know, he was so remorseful and everything, as he explained. And now in jail, he explained, saying one day a friend of his came and he was like, hey man, I brought you a gift, and I brought you a Bible. I don't know if you want a Bible. And he was like, Ryan was like, a Bible for what? And he was like, no, you can just read it, it's really good. And he was like, no, I don't need it. As soon as the friend was going, Ryan heard a voice in him saying, Ryan, all the answers of life are in the Bible. Take it. And that's how he called his friend back. He was like, hey, I think I'll need that Bible. And that's how he began to read the Bible. And as he was reading the Bible, he started getting changed, you know. He started seeing things like changing in his life. He started even preaching in the prison and even praying for his fellow inmates. And finally, he heard a voice in him saying, you have been pardoned. And when he heard that, he was even released from prison. When he was released from prison, Linda and Lee, the husband, they went to go and get him. And when they got him there, they went to pick him up. And his first request was to go and see where Michelle was buried. And he went there and he cried uncontrollably. And so that's how they did what? They found a place for him to stay. They bought for him a cell phone so that he could get in contact with with society and the rest. So right now, these two, they love each other so much. Even when he went to the pulpit, he hugged her. He calls her mom. And Ryan's real mom is actually died in 2007. And so he was like, this is my mom in every aspect. He hugged her again, kissed her, and they love each other. Actually, they wrote a book together, and this is the book. I ended up even buying it because, it touched me a lot, guys. And it was signed by both Linda here, it was pre-signed Linda, and this is Ryan here. And so this is Linda. I don't know if you can see that. This is Linda, and this is Ryan here over here, guys. So this book, I read it in here. Both of them wrote this book, and they are doing ministry around the world. They go ahead sharing their story of forgiveness, that forgiveness is key, forgiving one another. Christ died for us, we murdered him and then he forgave us. And so also us, we are obligated to forgive our friends. So they wrote a book together. I read this book and I would love to share it with someone. It's a very, very great book. It's a story. The first part of the book is a story of Linda and also on Michelle and everything. I had a picture. Okay, so this is in 1995. Let me share. That was Ryan there, and that was Michelle who was married. And these pictures were taken the first day they met. All right. So guys, whatever questions, concerns, just feel free to contact me. I have their contacts. So I don't know who I'm gonna give this book to, but I hope you're blessed, and thank you so much.